What's good, YouTube? Your boy 21 here, bringing you guys another discussion video today. Today's discussion is how to properly playtest for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because from what I've seen, a lot of people do not really know how to properly playtest, and I'm going to give you my ways on how I properly playtest, which has helped me get my first YCS top, my first regionals top, and pretty much helped me do good at locals every once in a while. My locals is pretty competitive, so I don't do that well. Plus, I'm playing a lower tier deck, so sometimes if I draw a bad hand, my opponent draws a mediocre hand, or mediocre hand is going to be 10 times better than my bad hand based on the fact that I'm playing a lower tier deck. So, how to properly play test? Well, for one, you build your deck and you play it. I mean, that's pretty much common sense. You start your deck off with your best idea you can have for the deck. For example, when I first built Chain Gadgets, I put everything at 3, the Chain Summoning, the 10 Goldfish, the Kage. I had like 2 Fortresses, and eventually, through trial and error and doing research on the deck, aka the OCG, I knew what ratios I wanted to use, and I implemented that to help me make my final build. Now, playtesting also is based on your meta. Like, for example, if your meta at locals is heavily Mermail, you might want to up your extra deck count to 2 Abyss Dwellers, maybe a macro on the main deck or the side deck. So, in order to properly playtest, you got to know how to build your deck, know what you want to do with your deck, and test your best ideas out. Even if it sounds wacky, using cards like that wacky alchemy, fuck it, go for it, because you might discover something that no one has discovered. Now, once you got past the phase of trial and error through finding the perfect build in your deck, now you have to see how your deck fares off in certain matchups. So, if your locals is not pretty competitive, you can do this on Dueling Network, like I used to do back in the day, where I'll go online and play somebody or find a player to play who was playing a meta deck and test my game and test my deck against their deck in games and over until I see how I can beat them. Or if you have a friend who knows is pretty good at the game, you have them build a meta deck and you play test your deck online against them to see how your deck is going to fare against the meta. And by doing that, you're going to get an idea, okay, let's see, these traps aren't that relevant right now. I'd rather run Decree over Wire Trap. Like little small, you notice a little small details that make your deck 10 times better against the meta versus the rogue. Now, after you pass the phase of playtesting against other decks, you want to play with those other decks yourself, and you can once again do this via Dueling Network, or if you're rich, you can buy the decks in real life and playtest with the decks, or borrow your friend's deck and playtest with the deck and get a feel of the deck. And by getting a feel of the deck, you understand the weaknesses and where the deck lies. So when you're playing with your main deck, you'll be able to find the weaknesses in that said deck and just obliterate it every time you play it against in the mirror. Every time you play against it in a major event. Now, granted, that won't help you out against a major event if your opponent's attacking something that's not meta, but it will help you out in understanding the basic concept of the deck. Now, once you finish understanding the basic concept of the deck from playtesting it and playing with it, you will gradually have a better understanding of how to play the deck and how to beat it. And then you want to move on to the lines of worrying about what you're going to side for rogue. Because a lot of players make the mistake of not worrying about the rogue, and they pretty much get their shit pushed in at big events. The way I side for the rogue is by siding cards that hits multiple decks. And what I mean by cards that hit multiple decks, stuff like Light Imprisoned Mirror that targets Boojins, that hits Lightsworns, Noble Knights. That card hits 3 decks. Prohibition you can pretty much side a Prohibition against anything, but I prefer to side Prohibition against decks that revolve around one card. So by implementing your side deck for multiple matchups, you're inherently accounting for the rogue, and by accounting for the rogue, you're gonna up your chances of doing better in a big event. Well, that's the closing statement. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, thumbs it up, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comment section below how you guys prep for the meta and how you guys play test. Alright, this is Yubba21 and I'm out. Deuces, have a good day.